Good morning and welcome to the Rise and Shine podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Justin, along with Jeff and Austin. We're so glad that you're here. I hope that you'll get a cup of coffee, open your heart, turn up the volume. Let's rise and shine together. This is the Rise and Shine podcast.
Hey, good morning. I've been sworn this morning to talk about anything but the NBA. So, I was a little curious, though, the other night when I was looking at the box score at halftime of the last game of the series, and Wemby only had one rebound, I think, at half. I believe it was something like that. That was, I think, an extraordinary stat there.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
I haven't watched any. I've just seen clips and snippets of people talking about it. I saw Charles Barkley when they were whining about Wemby getting fouled and stuff and talking about how brutal it was, and he just went on a rant about how weak the NBA is.
Well, I'll tell you what, interesting that you have that particular group serving as analysts for the playoffs, and you've got Shaq over there who can vividly certainly remember what it was like during the Hack-a-Shaq days when we would put him on the line. Now, Wemby's a much better free throw shooter, but my goodness, are we not paying enough attention to, since we're not talking about the NBA, are we not paying enough attention to the New York Knicks? Because they just, what they did to the Cleveland Cavaliers was extraordinary, I thought.
Brought their brooms, didn't they?
Okay, there is a WNBA coach.
Well, Cleveland's under a curse, according to...
Danhausen cursed them.
Okay. Well, Becky Hammond, who actually served, I think, on the Spurs staff as the first female assistant, is now in the WNBA, made a statement, a very strong one. She said, if your star player is 6'2", and that's Jalen Brunson, okay, and that's who she's talking about. If your star player is 6 feet 2 inches, you will not win an NBA championship. And she said, prove me wrong. So that statement's got to been floated out there, and I think it's an interesting one because, all right, I don't think Steph Curry is 6'3". I think he's probably closer to 6'2". He's not that tall, and Steph's got some titles. So I'm beginning to wonder a little bit here about that particular statement, if it's just more in the present, or was it not as well thought out as it probably should have been. But anyway.
Well, it's also the lady that told Trump that she needed to name the 93 New York Knicks championship team.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
They didn't win.
No, they didn't.
The championship. It was the Chicago Bulls.
You understand?
So there's a lot of analysts that sometimes don't know what they're talking about.
Well, okay. But in this room this morning, I am the only one old enough to remember when the Knicks last won
You're true.
a
That's
title.
true. We will give you that.
Okay. I remember Willis Reed hobbling out of the locker room and everybody going crazy over that.
Going back now, I was watching just a little bit of Scott Van Pelt last night. And they did show the clip of the last game of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they were up 7 points with 2 minutes to go.
Yes.
And lost the game.
Yes, they
in
did.
overtime.
Yes, they did.
Danhausen.
Yes.
So,
Let's talk about this weekend. We went to Savannah Bananas, and that was a pretty cool atmosphere, honestly. Like, it's been a while since I've been over at Neyland. And I know it was a madhouse.
Okay,
101,000 people. It was the second largest game in Savannah Banana Ball history for them, and it was crazy atmosphere.
Listen, they had the replay last night, and we just happened to turn it on and was just kind of channel surfing there. We came across them. I told Anita, I said, "Well, let's watch the Bananas." I did not know immediately where they were playing. Of course, they were playing the Tailgaters, and I just thought, no, okay. Yeah. And we're having fun and watching it, and I'm watching these guys catch the ball at first base behind their back, and I'm kind of doing that gesture right now. But anyway, through their legs, behind their back, and I'm thinking, okay, where is this? Because look at all these people. And then it was at Neyland Stadium.
Yeah.
Tell us how they put that together to play a baseball game on the football field.
Well, I will say the audio was pretty bad there with the way they had it set up, but the outfield was just really far extended, but you had one side that was just, they put a net up where it was so short in the outfield over there, and they would just hit it over and just give them home runs for it, basically, is what they're doing. But I will say it was a great game if you like watching sports and stuff and you can do, without the talking and all that stuff and you're just watching the game. It actually came down to they played all 9 innings. They got to it. It's a 2-hour time limit,
right?
Is how banana ball works. So after 2 hours, then you just play a final inning. But they got through 9 innings. But the tailgaters, the deciding factor was the trick plays. So in banana ball, you have trick plays that count through the whole game, and whoever has the most trick plays at the end, at the end of the timer, gets a point for your team. So that could be like the tying one or the leading one. So it actually put the tailgaters up 4-3 is what it did.
Gotcha.
And so the Bananas was trying to come back, and basically they had a winning run on third. And they ended up striking them out, and then the tailgaters won. I mean, it was a great game. It came all the way down to the last play of the game, so it wasn't like a blowout or anything. It was awesome.
I think the Savannah Bananas could be the best gimmick going right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they nailed it with that one.
It is, if you like to do stuff like with your family and you're always looking for something, that's very family oriented and stuff. I will say, like, Amber and I really bragged on it and stuff. I was like, man, this is the perfect place to bring your family to do something. Like, even if you could catch them at a smaller ballpark, because they play at small ballparks, like 1,500 people and stuff. They'll play in front of small crowds. But, I mean, it is a great family atmosphere.
Yeah.
It is amazing to see what they do and just bring out all these, just fans out in the field and stuff, pre-game, during the game, and all that stuff, and just the hospitality that they bring to the game and stuff.
I noticed last night a number of times when the camera was in front of the players, the number of eye black ink in the shapes of crosses and things like that. A number of the players were wearing things outwardly that were faith themed, and I thought there's
a player on the tailgaters. They have their walk up song still, just like baseball, regular baseball. They have a walk up song, and one of them was still. Amen by Forrest Frank. Every time he came up there, it was great. And Amber and I would just sing it along, played music the whole time. They were really good. It was awesome.
Hey, you bring up the phrase family friendly, and I think that is something in this day and age that we as parents, we long for that. We search for that. And, when we think about, those places where we can go, where we can just settle with our children and we can enjoy an event together and we can talk. And the word that my wife likes to use from time to time when we watch something together or we're with people, she'll look at me and she'll say, that was just easy, wasn't it? And that's a compliment because you just relax and you can enjoy that. But, when we were thinking about the scripture this past Sunday morning coming out of Matthew 10, Justin, when Jesus was commissioning his closest followers, his followers, to go out, it wasn't going to be a family-friendly environment, was it?
No. No, it's just, it's not what you would, to recruit people to follow you and to build a team, it's not what you would lead off with.
Right.
And this is what he leads off with, as he's given the mission. And now we're going to partner with Jesus. It's no longer Jesus just doing it. Now he needs help. Not that he needs help, but you know what I mean. He's wanting us to help him and be a part of this mission. So now he's going to call us to it. And again, there's not a lot of people. I think when you read this and you read the whole thing, 42 verses, we were going to try to cover it on Sunday morning and we only got through 3 points. But, when you read through it, it's not anything that you would say, oh man, let's sign up for that.
That's true.
Because he's going to give you, he's not going to sugarcoat it. He's just going to tell you straight up, like what's going to happen. And it's not, good as what we would think in our, Americanized Christianity. It's really a lot different than anything that we would, say or try to, hey, why don't you come and serve the Lord at the church? Oh, and by the way, it's going to be tough, and
right.
We want to draw people in. I was listening to another podcast and a preacher talking about how what we've done in the American church, we've lowered the expectations of people so low to try to make it feasible and palatable for them to want to be involved. And Jesus is not like, I want to raise the bar. And he does. That's what he does here. He just tells you straight up, like, I'm going to give you power, and this is what you're going to do. And he tells you what the mission is going to be about. He's going to tell you where to go. He's going to tell you what to do, and then he's going to tell you this is what's going to happen when you do it. And it just straight up tells them it's not going to be easy.
We think about, you're going back to what you just said there. Hollywood could take this type of a narrative and put it on a screen, and it might be something that might draw people into a theater to watch as spectators. But what God is calling us to do as His children is anything but that. We've been called to participate. And, I've heard this said before, and I guess it depends on the context by which you're offering it, but there is really no more exciting life to live than the life in Christ. And when God is calling His children to become, He's calling us to be on mission with Him. He's calling us into a most dynamic lifestyle opportunity that offers a great deal of joy, fulfillment, and blessing. Mm-hmm. I think as human beings, we would like to receive the joy, the fulfillment, and the blessing first, and then we go out and serve. But what God is calling us to do is, hey, listen, you're going to have to take this first faithful step with me and in me, and then when you do, you're going to begin to experience a quality of life that you could not apart from Him.
I think one of the toughest things of all that read, though, is like when He tells them to take nothing, basically. He gives them a limitation just to show that dependence on Him.
Absolutely.
And I just imagine, nowadays, you can compare it to now as if you all dropped me off at Tri-Cities Airport and I had my luggage and everything with me and all that, and then you go, all right, now give it back, give it to me, and then you're going to go do this without all this. So,
right.
It's crazy.
Well, it just creates within you this sense of vulnerability that is, you're laid bare there, and you're wondering, how are we going to be able to do this? How are we going to pull this off? But His promise to them was, if you'll participate, if you'll follow me, if you'll depend upon me and trust in me, you're going to receive everything that you need. Again, it goes back to that 4th chapter of Philippians, the letter that Paul wrote to the church there, verse 13. Where we are assured that we can do all things through Christ. And He is preparing us for, what could be the most challenging of times. But He said, listen, I'll meet you there and we'll get through it. You can do that. You will receive what you need. And, my goodness gracious, when we think, and listen, reading historically, whether tradition and history both match up as being accurate as one, if they're congruent with each other, other than the John, these fellows who followed Jesus the closest didn't live to be older men. And some of them died, cruel, gruesome deaths as a result of their commitment to Him.
But isn't the call to follow Jesus a call to die?
Daily, we're called to do that.
So there's a guy, his name's Paul Miller, and again, this is from listening to a webinar I listened to yesterday about discipleship making, and they were talking about this guy. His name's Paul Miller. He's written several books, one about the praying life, but he's written one called The J Curve.
Okay.
And if you think about the way a J's made, you start at the short end and then you draw it and with a long stick, And he says, and when you start there, he said that's the dying.
Okay.
And then as you die with Christ, you rise with
Christ.
Start
to rise back up again. Ooh,
and he said that's the Christian life.
Right.
It's dying and rising, dying and rising, dying and rising. And he goes into more detail about it, but that's what we're called to do. We're called to die. We're called to leave it all behind, to separate from self. And that's what goes so against this culture, that we're so about ourselves. What are we going to get out of it? And we are going to get rewarded. He tells them at the end, so he goes through, he tells them, this is who I need to do the mission. Mm-hmm. Then he tells them what the mission is going to be centered on. And then he tells them, hey, you're going to have to depend on me. And then he's going to tell them, hey, this is what you're going to face. And he tells them all these different things. And he gets to the end, he said, but hey, when you live on mission like this, you're going to be rewarded. And the smallest type of thing you do for Christ on mission is going to be rewarded.
Oh, my goodness.
And those are the rewards that will not fade away.
Right.
So, we've got right now, our spring sports is winding up. We've got some playing for championships, going to win trophies. And we just had awards day for our seniors last week. And all those awards that they got are great accomplishments, but they're going to fade away. But living on mission for Christ and getting a reward for him, that is a reward that's going to last. So the question is, what are we going to live for? Here's the thing too. Let's just be honest. Any one of those that won an award, an accomplished award, it was difficult to do.
Required some effort.
If you're going to win a state championship, it's not going to be easy. They ain't just handing you a trophy or a medal.
They do not.
You're going to have to work hard for it. The same way it is for the Lord. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. We're in a spiritual battle, warfare. So we already have the world that's against us. And then you think about the people that you're going to mission, because that's what the mission is. It's about reaching people. Well, people are not always going to understand because they can't. So, we live in a natural world, this earthly kingdom. That's what Matthew's talking about. Well, those people that are living in that world, they can't understand the things of the Spirit of God. That's why the Pharisees couldn't understand it.
Right.
That's why people living in our world today can't understand it. They have to. It's like they have to understand, or they have to be able to explain it before they can understand it. And that's not the kingdom of heaven. That's not the kingdom of God. Sometimes you're not going to be able to explain it. I was watching a little clip about Charles Stanley, and he was talking about his parents and how that right after he was born, his father died, and his mother always asked, well, I just don't know why. We were doing right. We were doing good. We were so happy together. And then after you were born, I don't understand. And he could never give her an answer that would satisfy her about why her husband had to die. And he said, there's just going to be some things in life that you're never going to know the answer. But here's what I do know. I know he's in control. And I have to put my faith and trust in him. And that is what this whole thing is about, is, yes, you're going to help me, but I'm going to show you it's all about me. It's not about you. I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah. Well, I had mentioned to you just before we went on air this morning about our senior adult Bible study class now, and we're going through the 2 chapters of Haggai together, and 4 prophetic words that God provided him within about a 3.5 to 4 month period in the year 520 BC. And one of the things that we talked about in the first word of the Lord that came to Haggai had to do with completing the temple work. Mm-hmm. One of the things, in fact, I'll say one of the things actually that occurred twice was God's encouragement to his people was speaking through Haggai, and the words that he said was, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. Now, the presence of the Lord, the Shekinah glory of God, had departed from Solomon's temple at a point because the southern kingdom of Judah became so sinful and idolatrous that God said, I can't dwell here if this is the way it's going to be. And it's a very vivid description that the Word gives us about, the Shekinah glory of God departing from the winged creatures in the most holy place to the threshold of the door, and then it goes out and it kind of goes up onto the mountain there. But, the glory of God never did come back to Solomon's temple. It didn't come in back into Zerubbabel's temple, and it wouldn't come into Herod's temple. But the completion of Zerubbabel's temple was a work that stopped. And what God was trying to impress upon his people was, listen, I called you to it. And apparently, out of your laziness, and he didn't use those words exactly, but you just decided that you thought it wasn't time to complete it, and things just kind of went nil there. But what happened was God rallied the people through his prophets, through his civil leader Zerubbabel, through his high priest Joshua, and the work began and completed, and the people were joyful. And I think the lesson there for us as God's people is this. The joy certainly is in the journey of participation, because we can come to God's house at any point in time that we have the opportunity, whether it's worship, small group, or whatever we're offering at that particular time. And to be able to sit and to be nourished is a wonderful experience. But my goodness, if we're not taking that out and allowing God to flesh that out of us in some way, shape, or form, what we are missing, and listen, what other people are missing, because our faithful obedience to God will be the way that a lost and dying world can see the glory of God made known.
Yeah.
So, hey, following God faithfully, is it going to be easy? No, but that's not what we're signing up for. But it's this affirmation of life that we receive when we've been obedient.
Yeah.
You just can't really describe that in words.
I think Justin did a great job on about faithfulness and stuff. And he used example, obviously, with 316 soccer coming up at the Weber City campus. And he was talking about, you get out there, you do everything that you're led to do, and we're on mission and everything, and just say nobody comes to know Christ of that. Was it actually it? Like, was it worth it?
Oh, my goodness.
Or do you feel like it was not worth it, like you wasted your time?
Right.
And so I kind of want to relate that too. I actually had a conversation yesterday with my management at work, and we had talked about like the time that I put in outside of work into like soccer and the ministry and all these things. And they know that I do these things without pay. And they're trying to shift my focus a little bit more towards work because I get paid to do it, and
Sure.
everything.
Okay.
And they're like, I don't know why you keep doing this. This is why they kind of mention it's just they just didn't understand. And they said, why do you do this and stuff? And so in relation here, I mean, even one of the things that was powerful in this text, it says over here in verse 8, it says, you received without paying, so you're going to give without pay. And that's the answer at the end of the day. Is because we're not expected to get something from it, okay? We're on mission for it. And that's my answer to that is, I do it because I didn't have to pay for it. It was there, and I took it.
That phrase again, could you say that? You received
without paying, so you're going to give without pay.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some translators say, freely you receive, freely give. So all it's saying is you didn't do anything to earn it or buy it. You can't. So it was by God's grace. That's what we talk about. It's by grace, free. No, you can't earn it. Great. What is it? Great riches at Christ's expense or something. Grace acrostic or whatever. But when you think about that, so then that means we're to give free. Okay. So I mean, it's not that we're looking. Our payday is not today. Our payday is going to be some other day when we see Christ.
Very true.
And so that's going to be the payday. That's going to be, and again, it goes back to what kind of rewards do you want? Do you want the rewards that are going to fade away, or do you want the rewards that are going to last? And I don't know if we really get our minds really wrapped around that, because so much of our living is for the here and now. Like what we were talking about before, in Austin's Bible reading, he was talking about how Paul said, that he was a single man, he could do more, and if basically he was talking about not marrying if you could abstain from those type things, and you could be single, you could do more for the Lord. And the truth is, what he's saying there is not that you have to be single, but what he was saying is there's you don't have as much pulling at you. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I have a family, I'm concerned about my wife, as I should be, and my kids to provide for them. So I've got all this, and you know how it is, and so it takes away a little bit of our focus on living for Christ as we can. We can still do it, no problem. One guy said duties never conflict. If they're spiritual duties, they shouldn't if you have your priorities right. Right. And I'll be a better husband if I keep Christ first. And that's what he's going to tell us later on. He's going to say, look, you got to, because he's going to show that if you're living for Christ, it's not that we're going out looking to get in a fight, okay, or looking to make somebody ticked off. But if you're going to live by the Bible, Jesus was the most perfect person ever lived. He never said anything wrong. He wasn't sarcastic. He wasn't a bully. He just told the truth, and they killed him for it. Okay? He was the most kind, gracious, sinless person ever lived, and yet they hated him. Okay? If we're going to follow him, we're going to be like that, and we're going to be hated just like him. So we have this idea that our world is, and again, we have people today that are trying to make the Christian life and the Bible and the truth palatable for people because they think that is love, and that is so totally against what Jesus shows us here. He says, look, you're going to go out, you're going to preach all he told them they were going to do is preach the gospel, heal people, and teach the truth. And that's what he did, and they're going to hate you for it. So you're not going out, causing a ruckus. But then he also says, if you really want to be my disciple, my follower, you're going to have to choose me over your family.
Oh, goodness, that's a hard one.
So, but what is he saying? We're going to talk about it more next week or this week. What is he saying when he says that? I mean, so when it comes down to, my family and Jesus, I'm supposed to choose Jesus? I mean, that is radical in our day, because most people will choose them versus Jesus.
Or they'll try to rationalize with that by saying, well, no, God would never want you to put him in front of your family. He wouldn't want you to neglect your family for his sake. But that's not what he's saying. He's not calling us to neglect family.
No.
He's calling us to love him so deeply that our disposition toward any other thing or any other person or group besides
your allegiance is to Jesus.
Is to him. But our love for him ought to be so deep and so sincere that it would almost, in comparison, contrast, seem like a hate toward other things. And that is, only he could help us love like that.
But the priority in your life is your relationship with Jesus.
Right.
And if my relationship with Jesus is right, then it's going to make my relationship with my wife right.
It will.
And it's going to make the relationship with my kids right. And it's going to make the relationship with now, the truth is, when he says later on that it's going to cause a division, he said, I didn't come to bring peace, I come to bring a sword. He's going to divide. What is he talking about there? He's talking about that there's going to be people that are natural-minded people that are not spiritual, and they're not going to understand, so it's going to divide. It's just like when people come to your church and you preach what the Bible says, and you preach exactly what the Word of God says, whether it's about marriage, gender, about truth, about salvation, any of those topics, there's going to be people that are not going to believe what you're saying, and it's going to divide.
Right.
Because the truth, honestly, the truth divides.
It does.
It can unite, but that's for people that believe the truth. But, when there's people that have a different belief system and they try to water it down, or they try to, cut parts out of the Bible that they don't like because it rubs us the wrong way or whatever, then there's going to be a divide there. That's what he's saying. He wants to bring people together, but he's going to cause a division. Because it's about the truth, and that's what we're seeing in our world. There's a great divide in our world. And it's because people have different views. And here's one of the issues, is because our world believes there's no absolute truth. So what's good for you is good for you. And then, well, if it's different for me, it's different for me.
Moral relativism is, it's
either it's absolute or it's not. Truth is truth, and you can't change what the truth is.
Right.
2 + 2 is always going to be 4.
But when the Lord is sending us as his children out to serve him, knowing that we will face some antagonism, some opposition along the way, if we're offering what he is inviting us to be a part of graciously, it opens up the door for people who don't believe to at least consider God's truth based on the gracious offer we're providing them. We've already said that. We have received something freely. Therefore, we are to give freely. So in doing that, in offering a person to other people without expecting anything at all in return, even opening the door for folks to come back to us and say, tell me something here. You all are doing this? And, okay, let's just use World Changers for an example. Okay, you all are down here working in the heat, and you're telling me you're not getting paid to do it. You all actually had to pay to do this. I don't get it. That would open up some wonderful porch front conversations with people about, okay, who are you and why are you doing this? And then we begin to bring the precious person of Jesus Christ into the conversation because he gave all. We're just wanting to make it seem, if it were required of us, and it's not, but we're just wanting to make it seem as if we could pay him back for everything that he's done for us through our effort and through our offering. and we know it's going to be hot, and we're going to work hard for him. And if it offers some help to you, then we are very, very thankful for that. And I think folks may step back from that, spiritually, emotionally speaking, and say, I don't get it. But there's obviously something going on here that right now I don't understand. And Justin, you just said it, because they can't understand. And that's when the Holy Spirit of God begins to step in and begins to work with their heart and mind about the sinful condition that every human being faces, and the fact that Jesus is their only hope like that.
I just kind of think that I'm just thinking in my head right now, just randomly, just those mission trips and stuff, those world changer trips that I've been on, is I just think of like adventuring, like how Paul and them went to different cities, and the apostles and all them will go to different cities and everything, and that they attach onto the church and stuff. And just whenever we went to those different mission trips, and you've been on them, there's host churches for each group.
There is.
And the fact that they would bring the food, they bring the bologna sandwich with the chips and the Kool-Aid, mixed in the big old 10-gallon bucket. It was provided, you'd sit there and you didn't know what you were eating for the day, but man, it made it a little bit better after you've been out there working, for the Lord all day. It was provided,
That's when the challenge of comparison contrast wants to step in and dampen your enthusiasm, because you just found out that the crew across town got Chick-fil-A.
Oh yeah, it would ruin you.
And but I was introduced to Milo sweet tea on a mission trip in Anniston, Alabama. I'll never forget that, and I came home with it, and then I found out Walmart carried it. But that is so true.
Yeah.
Those top trips like that, where you're moved out of your level of comfort, and you get even more uncomfortable due to the circumstances. But then as you begin to work through the week, you get to meet new people. But you're an instrument in the hands of Almighty God to provide, we hope, an accurate representation of his precious Son, Jesus. And that makes it all worth it. And then we all come home. We do testimonials in front of the church family. We found out we bonded with people we never thought we would. And then you step back and you look at this again, a picture that got bigger while you were away, but it got even larger when you got back home.
Yes.
And then you start looking for the date to go back the next year.
I can remember all those trips so vividly and stuff. they were so impactful, It was just, it's crazy to think about that stuff. Yeah. And then, to live on mission like that.
Right.
And that's the thing that I want to remember the most in my life and stuff, is those things that I've done because of what he done for me.
Right.
Without pay.
Listen, it was the most, okay, maybe this is where the Lord desires for us to park this morning for a moment, but okay, we slept on cold tile floors. If you had an egg crate to go under your sleeping bag, hey, that was some high living. But you slept the most peacefully at the end of the day. You didn't eat all that well, but you got enough. We were literally stripped down to T-shirts, shorts, jeans, whatever we would wear. But at the end of it all, we had church group time at the end of the day. We all just began to tell stories about, what we did during the day, how the Lord moved, people we got to meet, conversations that we had. I'll never forget sitting on the front porch with a gentleman once who, and we were just going door to door during a break time. And I just remember, I think it was his sister, might have been his wife, that was sitting with him on the front porch there, and we just started talking about who we were and where we were from while we were there. And as we got to talking about the person of Jesus Christ, trying to narrow it down a little bit, he had alcohol in his hand, and I just remember the conversation, the comment that whoever the lady was with him, hey, put that down.
Yeah.
Listen to what he's got to say, Yeah. I didn't come there to be a spiritual conscience to anybody. But, those are the things. Now, we were never sent out on a mission trip with the commission of, now listen, we're sending you to Calhoun County, Alabama, and you're all going to be down there like sheep amongst a bunch of wolves. That was never said. We always received a warm welcome when we went down there, and we felt much encouraged when we came out. But when Jesus was commissioning his closest followers, it could get venomous. And he told them, listen, you're going to go into some places. Hey, look for favor. Stay with them as long as you can. Yeah. And if they don't receive you, that's shaking the dust off your shoes.
Well, that's the point, is there were going to be some that would welcome them.
Right.
But he wanted them to be their eyes open, that there's going to be not everybody's going to receive you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's with any type of mission we do. There's some that want you there, and there's some that don't.
Right. Right. Yes.
And that's with our world. That's with where we're at right here in Scott County. There's people that, you get together with, that you do mission with, you do life with, it makes it sweet. That was the people that we're going to be staying with. Yeah. But then when you get out there, there's going to be people that don't want to hear what you have to say or totally against it.
That makes me think about our flowers that we planted this week and stuff. They're all in the same pot. And, we thankful for the rain this week and stuff. But some of those flowers, are you could tell they're tired of the rain, I think. But we've got one flower that's kind of already dead in the pot. And it's just not doing anything. But the other flowers, they look great. They're bloomed. They look excellent. They're standing tall. And so that's what that makes me think of is I have that one flower, I can't bring it any more life. I've done everything I can to, put my efforts into it and stuff. But the other flowers, they're blooming just as bright as they can be and stuff. And that's what that makes me think of.
Well, and that's what it's not that he's saying nobody's going to welcome you, but just be ready.
Right.
Because there's going to be people that are not going to be patting you on the back and applauding you when you come into town, rolling out the red carpet for you. Even Jesus, he went to his family. His family didn't receive him.
Right.
His own kin tried to take him out and throw him off a cliff. His own relatives. Okay. So he knows what's coming, and he's wanting to be straight up and up front and saying, hey, guys, this is the greatest mission you could ever live. But here's the reality. Not everybody's going to love you, and not everybody's going to cheer you and applaud you. Some are going to try to kill you.
Right.
So you got to be ready for it.
Ordinary people that God called, that Jesus called to follow him with an extraordinary faith and dependence. And that, listen, how that should speak to us and challenge us today.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for tuning in this week. God bless you. And we hope that you'll like, share, let everybody know about the podcast. If it's been a blessing to you, let us know as well. God bless you. Have a good rest of the week.